Hello everyone, welcome to this message. So, as our first card today, we have the Dark Lady, and the next two cards that come after that are Luota's the Wild and the Singer of Transfiguration. So, let's see. And the overall energy is very interesting because we get passion, this is like a pepper, right? A spicy pepper. Passion, fieriness, and action. And it says justice. Your career is is taking care of fairness and honesty, something like that, and protection for others that need this. So, so there's something here about you being suppressed. So, yeah, about you being suppressed, and this is making you perhaps quite passionate or quite fiery. So it could be that God is talking about that the suppression that is happening may be causing you to become quite spicy, quite literally. So, and it could have something to do with justice. So, honesty, fairness, justice. So I do think that God wants to say, like, I see what's happening, and yeah, there's something about perhaps as well that your career, so what you are doing, what you are fending for to be able to do, that it's going to be something that other people need, quite likely, or it has an effect where it is protecting those that are in need. So it is, you could say, like the career that you are pursuing is bigger than you. What you are trying to create, what you are trying to pursue is bigger than you. And it will offer other people protection, or it will offer other people assistance or aid. It's bigger than you, right? So, and there's something about this oppression. I personally, I'm finding it a bit over the top. The oppression that's happening is a bit over the top. Like it has been happening lately, like just in general, ever since I started this new venture, but also today as well. Like it's just over the top. It's just too much, and um, yeah. So it could be causing you to become quite spicy. Maybe it's also going to drive action. It could drive some kind of a pepper in your butt kind of a situation, right? So I tend to like mellow out rather quickly, right? So, but there was most definitely a situation this morning when like it was just over the top, and like it, yeah, there could have been a situation similar in your life where it was like you could have a moment of like enough is enough, or like um um something like the hell with you Satan, um or like if you want to like crush me completely into the ground, then go ahead. But I'm like uh I'm like allowing like I'm going all the way in until I crash, right? So it could be something like that. Like you can help, you can either like there could be some like fiery statements coming from you, very spicy statements, and it could have something to do with that this is propelling you into action, or that it's making you quite fiery or quite passionate, and it has something to do with that there is a bigger purpose for what you are intending to do. So, and there is something about fairness and justice. So I do think that whatever may be happening also in your life, that it is not fair, it is not right, it is not just. You could say it's going over the top. You could say. So what could this be? So I do think that it's talking about that with Luata's the Wild, because Luata the Wild is like is full steam ahead, um, green light from the universe, right? Green light from God, like full force ahead, full intensity, full speed ahead. So it is like he is on it with a carbonet, right? Like he is, yeah, he's moving. So it could be that this oppression is starting to move you in a sense like that it's causing quite the intensity. It could be causing quite the fieriness, the action, the passion, the yeah, like something like a pepper in your butt, you could say, like to get you going, right? So there's something that is happening here because it's a bit over the top, I think. Maybe you are also experiencing this. And then there is the singer of transfiguration. Um, singer of transfiguration. So there could be, what could this mean? It makes me think about all hell breaks loose, pretty much. Because there is like, you see like this dragon, and it's like a fiery dragon, right? So it's not just intensity, speed, full force ahead, right? But there's also something about maybe there's this fieriness about it, this color again, right? This fiery, it's not just speed, it's not just intensity, it is fiery action, spiciness, right? Passionate. It's more than that. It could be something like something similar to a passionate holy fire or something. A passionate holy fire, and it could be quite transformational, perhaps. It is quite intense. Fire is intense, right? So, and then you have like this green and red, like complementary colors and such, right? So I do think like opposite colors of the spectrum, right? So it makes me think about green and red, green and red. So it's kind of like, I think it just talks about that it levels it out. You could say it is. Um, hopefully you are also experiencing that you can be that it is quite intense, but at the same time you are capable of like mellowing it out quickly and like using it in a very moderate, sensible, uh, um, like being able to alchemize all of that fire, you could say. Being able to alchemize all of that fire into something that is very clear headed, moderate, temperate, on, despite that this is like very, very intense. So I think it talks about that, but let's just see. And then you have Sylvanius. So Sylvanius reveals. He reveals. What is he revealing? Perhaps that you have been through quite the journey. So maybe you are starting to reveal that that you have gone through quite the journey, that you are tired, that you need to recover, for example, or that just in a sense could just be simply, but like Fav the Fooder is like someone who has been through quite the journey in life and now needs to recover. This could be a recent journey. This could be your entire life's journey that you need to recover from. So it's like a moment in time where you're like, I've been walking through this forest for such a long time. My feet hurt. I have to sit down and like tend to my feet, right? I need to recover. So, and I do think that you're speaking up about that with Arvel the parrot. So you are starting to speak up. You're starting to reveal that you are going through quite the journey and that you need to recover. So, which also indicates like you're going too far. In other words, right? This is going too far. So, yeah. So let's see. So we have the suppression, which is causing a revealing. The suppression is causing a revealing, and this is more than suppression, right? This is the dark feminine archetype. So it talks about like people who are unsupportive, people who are like critics, unsupportive, uh, uh, people who are getting in your way, who are making things difficult for you, who who don't have the best intentions for you, or who are not very supportive. Just I would just say not very supportive. And this this maybe also this fiery intensity of not being supportive. So I do think that this is also going to another level, you could say. So I do think that this suppression in and of itself, because this is clarifying that, is also going to another level, which is causing this spicy and this fieriness and this action in you because it's going too far, you could say, right? So it's almost like the oppression in and of itself, the unsupportiveness is also going to another level, is also becoming more fiery, right? So this lack of support is going to a next level, and it's causing of you to start revealing, right? As a cause and effect, it's causing you to start revealing probably that you've been through quite the journey, right? Um, or it like, yeah, probably cause and effect because we usually look at like top to bottom, right? But you could also see it perhaps as you revealing that you've been through quite a lot and then getting suppressed even more, because that's actually what happened this morning. So let's see, getting lack of support even more. So so that's literally what happened. I don't think this happens to a lot of people, quite likely. So hopefully you haven't gone through this, but like it's like saying like um I've been through quite the journey, and then actually getting the response of getting more suppressed, more uh, uh, receiving even less support as a result of that. So, or get even more criticized or whatever. Like there's something about that, about it's getting even worse, not better, worse. And then you have like so you are dealing. Maybe we should go like this as well. So you have been through quite the journey, and maybe also because you have been on quite the journey, this is causing this as well in some kind of way. And sometimes, and this was making me think about that, like sometimes I see a witch here, like a green witch, like a witch, right? So so this could have something to do with like oppressive witchcraft, perhaps. So maybe you are dealing with oppressive witchcraft, or you're dealing with what could be witchcraft as well, like people trying to alter your reality in some kind of way, which you can do in so many ways other than literal witchcraft, right? So yeah, there's something about that. But the intensity of the oppression is also the intensity of the reaction, you could say. And there is something about that you need to recover, right? You need to recover. And as you are stating, I need, like, the more you make it clear that you need to recover, the worse this gets, hence fueling the fire, right? Fueling the fire even worse. And I guess the fire also fueling this worse, right? Making the recovery even stronger, perhaps. There's something about the correlation between these two. Although, of course, uh, holy fire can be quite the fuel, right? So hopefully, this fire is not fueling into this, right? So hopefully, this fire is just a fueling fire and not an exhausting fire that would worsen the recovery. So let's see. And then you have the singer of transfiguration, which is also revealing in a sense. So maybe you were starting to reveal quite something quite fiery, quite passionate, quite intense, you could say. Maybe you were starting to reveal your holy fire or like your transformative abilities, but in a very fiery kind of way. This can also be a phoenix, like a death and rebirth. Um, and like speaking up about that, speaking up about death and rebirth, or speaking up about, I would say, how fiery things are going to get, or like speaking up about the holy fire you're about to bring, or it could be something like that. There's something about your speech being very fiery, maybe also very transformative, maybe as well. So um, it could be quite transformative. So you could be speaking words of holy fire, which are quite transformative, which are quite maybe you are also, I don't know where this is coming from, but I do think like you are counter talking the witchcraft perhaps somehow, like um like countering the, because there's most definitely a countering of intensity. This is going over the top, so you're also going to the next level in intensity. And there's something about that you are speaking against this kind of witchcraft. It doesn't have to mean literal witchcraft, but like you're starting to counter that slowly with your words. And there's something about, I think that you're speaking something that is causing, like it's like you would say like witchcraft in a positive sense. Like there's something about, I think you're speaking words of holy fire. You're speaking words that are starting to transfigure something, right? That words that are like, there's power in these words. I think these words are, you could say, like if you look at it literal sense, fire, like these are destructive and creative words at the same time perhaps. But they could also be like words of holy fire. They could be words of I don't know what you could call that, like words of that change, that counter and change reality. So this is causing something. So let's just see. And then at uh, you have here Mike the Myomancer. You could also see this a bit as like balancing out. So justice, you balancing things out perhaps with this fieriness. And then you have Mike the Myomancer. Mike the Myomancer is the devil in the detail in this case. So there is the devil in the detail. So there is, this could also talk about like um, things like being cozily together, right? So family gatherings, anything to do with like where it's supposed to be like you're cozily together, but you get the devil in the details, perhaps. So it could be that people are perhaps criticizing, judging, whatever it may be, right? The devil in the detail, like focusing incredibly on the details, or like nitpicking, or I don't know. That's something about that in that kind of sense. And then you have heart's desires. The angels are supporting you, leading you, and protecting you as your dreams are becoming a reality. But you also see that she is walking away, right? She's turning her back and she's walking away. So I do think that maybe the only support you're going to be having is angelic support. So you may be walking away in a sense like um, that you will be supported by the angels, but maybe also only by the angels, and maybe you're okay with that. So the angels are supporting, leading you, and protecting you as your dreams are becoming a reality. So they are helping you to realize your dreams, making your heart's desires come true. And but you may be walking away in the sense like turning your back on something and being like, okay, then I think it's something like you take it to that level, but I'm also going to take it to that level, right? There's something about a counter. And then you have the lady of the harvest. So there is a situation that's quite draining to you, but there's also perhaps a harvest up ahead. And there's something about miracles. So you are alchemizing things in quite miraculous ways. So it could be that you're alchemizing a draining situation, perhaps by your words. So it could be that you are alchemizing a draining situation by the use of words. And it could also be detoxifying, perhaps with this lemon, emanate. So it could be detoxifying, miracular detoxifying, and like detoxifying of anything that's draining you. And then you have um, letting go. So maybe you are miraculously detoxifying of what is draining you by letting it go. And you can only, it says you can only solve the situation when you make yourself loose from it. So it could be that there is no other way than to walk away. You turn your back, walk away, and to say, I will be supported by God, I will be supported by the angels, but perhaps I will not be supported by you, perhaps, or I will not be, I will walk my own path, or whatever it may have been that happened. There's something about that. And I do this makes me think about like surrender, but surrender in the sense like what I actually learned from a demon, quite interestingly. Like I learned from a demon that the best resistance is no resistance at all. So I do think that this could be that surrendering in a sense like no resistance is the best resistance of all, which means like just like a little bit like that situation, right? Like if you want to completely uh, ruin me to the ground, if you want to do that, then go ahead and do that, and I will not stop you. So I will not stop you, and I'm going all the way in until I crash. And if you want to be the one who's responsible for that crash, then go ahead and do that, right? If you really want to take it that far, I will let you take it that far, right? So, which is kind of like no resistance is the best resistance, right? Like I learned surprisingly from a demon. So it's the only advice that was incredibly helpful, actually. So it always stuck by me that I don't think this. Yeah, I think this demon would likely not have given me this advice. Like if he had known, yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. So, but anyway, it is really great advice. And like this, so this is a situation where you may need to surrender. So you may need to make loose in a sense, like no resistance is the best resistance of all. So maybe if someone wants to do something, you should say like, okay, go ahead, full force, give me full force. For example, like if someone criticizes you and they're going too far or whatever it may be that they're doing, you may be the best approach you may want to take is like, okay, give me more criticism, give me more criticism until I crash, for example, or like give me um like whatever it may be, like give me more of that, give me full force. And then usually people when they hear that, they're like, okay, I'm backing away, like because if they are noticing that there is no resistance, they actually stop it because they also understand that they're going too far, perhaps, right? It's not always the case, but like it is a really good advice. So I would definitely suggest using that if you get into a situation where things are just going way over the top too far. So yeah, so you could be in a situation like that. So I will just get the Bible. I don't know if that's going to be relevant or not. So let's see. Um, okay, it says here. Um, mm, let's just go there. I lay particular stress upon this matter here because, while the employment of irrational fear in revivals has largely passed away, the employment of hypnotic method has not passed away. There has rather been a recrudescence and a conscious strengthening of it because the old prop of terror is gone. So it could be that there, just like I was saying, like a conscious strengthening of That could be a conscious strengthening of whatever was happening. And it may be because the old prop of terror is gone, so you're not terrorized by this anymore, perhaps. And it cannot be too vigorously emphasized that such a force is not a spiritual force in any high and clear sense at all, but is rather uncanny and psychic and obscure, and the method itself needs to be greatly refined before it can ever be of any spiritual benefit whatsoever. It is thoroughly primitive and belongs with the animal and instinctive means of fascination. In this bald, crude form, the feline employs it upon the helpless bird, and the Indian medicine man upon the ghost dance votary, when used as it has often been, upon little children who are naturally highly suggestible. It has no justification whatsoever and is mentally and morally injurious in the highest degree. So I do think that maybe you are experiencing something that is mentally and morally injurious in the highest degree, right? So and it's not okay, right? I do not see how violent emotional throws and the use of suggestion in its crude forms can be made serviceable, even in the cases of hardened sinners, and certainly with large classes of the population, the employment means of this means is nothing but psychological malpractice. So it could be that God is talking about that there's something about psychological malpractice that was being used upon you. So it was going too far, right? Um, we guard with intelligent care against quackery in psychological obstetrics. It would be well if a sterner training and prohibition hatched about the spiritual obstetrician, yeah, whose function is to guide the far more delicate process of the new birth. So maybe there's a function of you guiding along the far more delicate process of the new birth. So it should actually be a very delicate process that um, it should be treated as a delicate process, perhaps, but it's not being treated as a delicate process. This new birth of you, this new birth of what you are creating. Instead, people are employing psychological malpractice. So maybe they are mentally and morally injurious in the highest degree, you could say. They're going way too far upon someone who is pretty much helpless, you could say, or like who is very childlike, for example. Could be anything like that, but it is not okay, right? And it is rather uncanny and psychic and obscure and of no spiritual benefit whatsoever. So yeah, that's interesting. Let's go to the Bible. Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. Go to the great city of Nineveh and proclaim to it the message I give you. Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord and went to Nineveh. Now Nineveh was a very large city. It took 3 days to go through it. Jonah began by going a day's journey into the city, proclaiming, 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. The Ninevites believed God. A fast was proclaimed, and all of them, from the greatest to the least, put on sackcloth. When Jonah's warning reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat down in the dust. This is the proclamation he used in Nineveh. By the decree of the king and his nobles, do not let people or animals, herds or flocks, taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink, but let people and animals be covered with sackcloth. Let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and their violence. Who knows, God may yet relent and with compassion turn from his fierce anger so that we will not perish. So maybe it talks about maybe you will relent. So it could be talking about that you will be relenting, you will be showing compassion, and this fierceness will go away. Um, if someone turns from their evil ways, perhaps, right? And they're quite violent ways in terms of like more like in those psychological malpractice kind of ways, right? When God saw what they did and how they turned from their evil ways, he relented and did not bring on them the destruction he had threatened. So could it be talking about that you are tr- like you're this maybe talking about your own destruction, right? So that it may not have to go that far, and like maybe they will relent, so the destruction doesn't have to happen, perhaps, right? And maybe they will turn from their evil ways. So it could have something to do with that. And it could be that you are, because like the king of Nineveh rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat down in the dust. So it could be that you are moving away from your usual cool, calm, collected, perhaps. And maybe you are going into the dirt. Maybe you're going into the dust. So it makes me think a little bit about that card of like someone who gets their hands dirty, right? Who is going to get their hands dirty and it's a queen who there's a card in one of my decks that makes me think about that like that, and she is a queen that is going to get her hands dirty. So it's kind of like a queen that says like, okay, I'm going to take off these beautiful lace hand gloves and you know, we're going to get down and dirty, you know. So it could be something like that. Um, and it may be because they will then relent, and this destruction doesn't have to happen. Perhaps I don't know. Maybe there's something about this too. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God. He said, in my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead I called for help. Just maybe there. I called for help. And you listened to my cry. You hurried me into the depths, into the very heart of the seas, and the currents swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me, the deep surrounded me. Seaweed was wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever, but you, Lord my God, brought my life up from the pit. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to wordless idols turn away from God's love for them, but I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. I will say, salvation comes from the Lord. And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. So, this is also interesting, onto dry land. So I do think that maybe you are sacrificing for God, and you have, what I have vowed, I will make good. So I do think that people may be hearing you loud and clear, perhaps, right? Because what you vow, you will make good, right? What you vow, you will make good, and you are perhaps sacrificing for God because there is a higher purpose to this. There's a higher purpose to this. There's also something interesting here. The sea was getting rougher and rougher. So they asked him, what should we do? What should we do to you to make the sea calm down for us? Pick me up and throw me into the sea, he replied, and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you. Instead, the men did their best to row back to land, They could not, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord, Please, Lord, do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, Lord, have done as you pleased. Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. At this the man greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. Something about that. Let's see. Shall we try Harry Potter again? Let's see. Well, it says here like astounding, uh, not scorching fireworks. Astounding, not scorching fireworks, and they like slammed in, and a tiny little. There's something about some broken wands, a tiny bit of broken wands. Copper, like shaky copper scales. It could be like this. Shaky copper scales and old mantles full of potion stains. They saw Percy, and he was like reading a small and unbelievably boring book called The Class Elders at the Top. The study of only the class elders of Hogwarts and their later career. So Percy said, Go away. Percy is terribly ambitious. He has it all figured out, all mapped out, all figured out. He's planning to become the Minister of Magic, said Ron softly to Harry and Hermione when they walked away and left Percy alone. So it could be that someone maybe thinks that you're too ambitious or that you have it all figured out or something. An hour later, they went to, I don't know what this is called, Bergens and something. They were not exactly the only ones who were in that bookstore. And to their surprise, there was like a big mass of people in front of the doors. The reason became quite clear when they saw like the banner that went that ran over the windows of the upper floor. Um, it's like Small Heart's autobiography, right? My enchanting me, and we can see him in. Then we can see him alive, like then we can see him live. I mean, he has written like a whole book or so, a whole list of books or something. The crowd was made mostly out of witches. There was like a tortured wizard as well at the door. Calm ladies, don't push. Be careful with the books. Hmm. I think it has something to do with being terribly ambitious, perhaps, and about this scorching, or that you have it all figured out, that you maybe you are too ambitious and you have it all figured out, and maybe this is irking someone, perhaps could be the case. And there was like quite a splendid non-scorching fireworks that slammed into the ground, and there were a lot of broken ones afterwards. So yeah, very interesting. So I'm wishing you a very beautiful day ahead, and bye bye.